Mm-hmm.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we are conducting our webinar about PortaBI, our latest product, which is a decision support system for your telecom operations. Webinar is conducted by myself, Andrei Zhelenko, CEO of PortaOne, and Mike Kiddick. And Mike has some glitch with his camera, so you won't be able to see him during this show. But if you're a PortaOne customer for some time, I'm pretty sure you've seen Mike at one occasion or another. Okay, so let's talk about why we created this product and how exactly you will use it and it will help you in your daily operations. And just a reminder, your microphones are muted because otherwise we'll have quite a lot of noise, but you will be able to type your questions through Q&A window, and we will conduct a live discussion at the end of the webinar. And if we run out of time, or if you come up with a question later on, you're always welcome to send it to us via email. Okay. So as one of the founders, known authors of the management theory, Peter Drucker, said, you can't manage what you can't measure. And this applies to business operations, this applies to service provider operations, to everything. In order to understand what is going on in your business and react in time, react proactively, and also measure the effect of the changes you're implementing, you do need to have parameters, you need to have KPIs, you need to know exactly what is happening. And before that, the options which were available to you as a PortaOne customer, as owner of PortaSwitch, there were built-in reports which were inside of your PortaSwitch. And also we had an open interface where you can connect through any external tool, such as Crystal Reports. And the idea was, if you need something additional, if you need something specific to your business, something you're not sure if we have created already, you can do it in those custom reports. And as our next step, I would like to actually to do a live poll. And I would like to ask you about what is the current situation with the KPIs of your business. Okay, so I have started the poll, and you should be able to see it in your Zoom panel. You will see it, and you can submit your answers. And there are no right or wrong answers. I just, for me, interesting to find out what is the current situation there. Okay. I'm not sure if it shows you the live view of the poll questions, but for me, it's quite interesting to monitor what's going on. But I can tell you one thing already. The first question, which is, have you tried to build your own reporting? So far, we have 71% of people who said yes. So it means, yes, they have tried to go the route of creating their own reports and building something there. And then the second question was about the KPIs, which we don't know yet or you don't have access to. And also we do have quite a lot of votes there. Because the situation which we saw with the analytics in context of our customers, yes, quite a lot of them, they were aware of this possibility to run their own reports, to build their own report engine. But it was challenging, it required engineering resources, it wasn't always as detailed as they needed to be or as prompt as they needed to be. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll now, and or let's give it another 30 seconds because I think people are still voting, and so far we have 63% of people who voted. Okay, so let's give them 40 more seconds until the end of the third minute. And while we're waiting, I can tell you one thing: the PortaBI product, the first product which in PortaOne history, which we designed as a way for executing a product design sprint. So that's a methodology which is used by some startups, used by larger companies, heavily promoted by Google Ventures, for instance. And the idea is, before building the product, you start with collecting data about the users and their needs, trying to pile together, creating prototypes, showing those prototypes to users and measuring their reaction, what they like, what they don't like, what they see them using, what they are not sure about. So this is our first attempt to do a proper approach to product design. We do like it, and we will be using it in the future. And one thing which became obvious during our interview was that the analytics and reporting, it was a daily pain for some of our customers. Okay, so I have stopped the polling, and I'm going to share the results. So as you can see, quite a few of you have tried to build their own reports. And there are still some KPIs which you don't have access to. And the champion about the unknown KPI is profitability of products which combine subscriptions, 3 minutes, or bundles of gigabytes, pay-per-usage activity, basically everything which happens together during the billing cycle of a customer, but it may be represented differently. And the good news is, and I'm going to, I don't want to spoil you, but a lot of those things which you voted as not being able to access right now, you will be able to address them through PortaBI. So I will stop the sharing and I'll proceed with the presentation. Okay, so what changes now? We still have built-in reports in PortaSwitch because they're useful for some statistics which need to build quickly, and they operate with their small set of data, such as recent week, you need to get ISR for vendors. And we're still going to keep this interface open. So if you have an existing tool, or if you have some department that would like to run their own reports, that's totally fine with us. But as a better alternative, which here would eliminate the need for manual work, for constructing those reports, for storing the data somewhere, this is a PortaBI. And the idea is it's available out of the box. It is populated with the reports which we found useful, and we found it based on your interviews, based on your feedback, and also it has ability to create your own reports through intuitive interface. So things which before would take several man days every month, as our customers reported, to have some accurate information about financial details available. Now it will be just a matter of a few clicks, and it's available for you at any time. So PortaBI, it's a cloud software as a service product. It is independent from your existing PortaSwitch installation. So it runs in the cloud, it's separate, and there are a few good things which actually come out of this. Well, first of all, you don't have to wait until your release will get updated to the latest version of PortaSwitch. You can start using PortaBI today. We have data connector, which will extract data from PortaSwitch installation, available for PortaSwitch releases from maintenance release 55, which is 4 years old now, I believe, until all the recent ones. PortaBI includes cloud data warehouse, so ability to store the data in the cloud, licenses of Tableau. Again, this was one of the shortcomings of this build your own report solution, because then you are responsible for choosing the tool, for paying the licenses and learning it. So we decided to do this best of breed approach and combine our forces with Tableau. It has built-in reports which are created by our team, but also has ability to design your own reports. And as I said, this was our first ever product design sprint. And I would like to say warm thank you for all the customers who participated in the interviews, who provided their feedback, who did with us prototype reviews, who participated in the early stages demos. You helped us a lot. You helped us to create a product which will make your operations easy and will help other PortaSwitch customers. So PortaBI consists of PortaBI agent, something which will be extracting the data from your system, will be then sending aggregated data into the cloud database, and the report interface. The agent, the extractor, it runs in a Docker. And for those of you not very technical, not familiar, it's like a mini virtual machine. So the thing is, it runs, although it has to run physically on your current PortaSwitch, which can be on-premise or in the cloud, but since it runs this virtual machine, it is physically isolated from the rest of the system. So whatever happens there, it has no impact, it has no access even to your current PortaSwitch unless we specifically permit this access. This container image, the code which actually extracts the data, it gets auto updated and downloaded from our servers. So it means any further updates when we add some reports, we add some capabilities of PortaBI, there's going to be no need to do any maintenance, there's no need to do some manual work. So this will also help you with the planning the maintenance activities and will help our support. It only connects to your replica database and only in read-only mode. So it only extracts the data. It doesn't touch anything in your database. It reads the data and it does the initial aggregation, because the idea is we want to compress the data so they take less space. And also as a part of this aggregation, all of the private data, all of the sensitive data which belong to your customers are discarded. So there are no passwords, there are no IP addresses, there are not even the phone numbers, because also according to GDPR, phone number is a private data. So the only thing which is potentially kind of questionable is customer name, which is customer ID in PortaBI, unique one. And some of you have it auto-generated anyway, so it's not a concern. For those of you who may use customer first name and last name as a part of it, customer ID, we can pseudonymize it. So again, you're going to be compliant to GDPR or California Data Privacy Act or whatever data privacy laws which exist in your country. And then these files, they're stored locally and uploaded to the cloud. In the cloud warehouse, first of all, each PortaBI instance, it's an isolated database, isolated storage. So the customer A is totally separated from customer B. That's going to be, you're not sharing any database. Again, there are no concerns with some data leakage or something. And while your database, which you have in PortaBI, we trim it, we try to keep it as small as possible to optimize the real-time performance. But here we can extend it and we can have a database go as further in the past as it's possible. And this will give you insights. This will give you ability to run some comparison of, okay, how our sales in April this year were compared to the last year. Well, April 2020 is not going to match anything in 2019 because of COVID, but you get the idea. The more history you have, the more valuable it is because it gives you better analytics and better comparison, better baseline. The database model there is simplified to have few amount of data, run the reports quick, and also for those who will be running custom reports, it should be easy to understand, so you don't have to be an expert in technical details or SQL. And one concept which I will explain now because it will going to be important when we be discussing commercial details. You're all familiar with the term of XDR. So it's a record of a call which was made by one customer to another, or an SMS message or internet session, but basically some activity by the end user, which is represented by a single transaction in PortaBI. Well, here, when they go to PortaBI, they actually get aggregated into transaction records. And the idea is all of the activities which were done by a specific customer within a 24-hour period for the same destination, same service are going to be compressed into a single ATR. So if we have a customer who made 10 calls to London yesterday, well, it's going to be just one ATR which has the accumulated cost, total number of minutes, but we don't need those individual records. And this helps us to reduce the total size of a database by the factor from 5 to 30, I believe. So if you have 1 million XDRs, it may translate to 200,000 to 100,000 AQRs. So we are using much less space, and reports are much faster because of this. And finally, as the core of the PortaBI user interface, it's Tableau, the leader in the business intelligence space. So you will have access to all the bells and whistles they have available for graphs, for comparison, and Mike will show how it looks. We have ability for you to go and create your own reports. And also as an additional benefit, Tableau actually has its own data cache. So we put the data in the cloud warehouse. They are already compressed, already small, and then Tableau every night or so pre-builds the dashboard configuration. So for those of you who run your own reports and you open a page and it takes 2 minutes or 5 minutes, or even 30 seconds to load because it reads the data from the live database, it has to go for all the CDRs, it has to accumulate them, has to count them. Well, here, the same thing is going to open in a matter of seconds because all the data is already there. It's just like showing a picture on the web page. And all the licenses which are related to Tableau, they are part of PortaBI subscription, so you're not going to spend any money on that. So now it's time for the live demo. And we're going to show how you can solve your real everyday business challenges or questions which arise during your operations using PortaBI. So we're going to see, okay, what is our revenue growth rate? How our business is growing? And do we have any segments which are doing well? Any maybe other which require attention? And the question which was the champion among your yet unknown KPIs, it was what is the true profit on a product which includes bundled minutes, which includes subscription, includes different charges. And Mike will show you what that's actually already available out of the box. And then also something which we find out during our interviews, people were saying that although they may have revenue data about the whole system, but they're not sure, okay, if any specific customer segment, customer class, on specific product, what is their revenue share and what is their profitability? And the question which comes up now with this COVID situation, okay, you do want to offer some special pricing. We have published a few very compelling success stories by PortaSwitch operators who donate part of their PortaSwitch capacity to help fight virus, or they produce a special plan which are low price, even free price to help people, but also attract new customers, attract influence, attract somebody who will help them extend their business later on. But again, the question is, if you were to offer a discounted pricing or free pricing, okay, what is going to be the actual impact on your cash flow? So what's a tolerable margin of discounts? So Mike will show you how it's done, how these questions can be answered in a matter of minutes using PortaBI interface. So I'm stopping the share and I will pass the share to Mike.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see a lot of familiar names, a lot of our long-term customers. And I'm going to show you basically the interface of PortaBI and how you can answer those particular questions that Andrew had in his presentation. So we'll start with the dashboard. That's pretty much like I would say the main landing page, which should provide you a quick overview of your business, what's going on, what's happening with the business right now. Of course, from this place, you should be able to drill down to particular information about revenue, profitability, or usage, or your churn and growth rate for customers and so on. Let me tell you a few things about the data that you are going to see. So this is actually data which was downloaded from one of our customer installation. And that data was kind of updated for a while. So, I mean, we had the PortaBI running on their system for, I don't know, for several weeks. We stopped updating the data in April, and you will understand why. So it's not a up-to-date, it's not a live data feed. Yeah, it doesn't get the most recent information for May, for example. It stopped somewhere in the 20th of April. I don't remember the exact date, but you can see that for the last months, for revenue, for profit, for usage, it's a little bit lower than the previous months. And that's because we stopped on 25th of April or something like that. And the reason why we had to stop the feed, because obviously we don't and we cannot and we will not show any customer specific data to public. Yeah, it's confidential information, and we would never do anything like that. So what we did after that, we kind of anonymized the data. So when you look, for example, at the customer list here, it doesn't show any real customer names. It just shows like some random numbers. Then we have the vendors, which are also just random numbers. And you will see those numbers like for products, for customer classes, for anything else. You will see just numbers. So there is no real reference to what customer it is. The currency, yeah, you can see the currency, but you know, it's US dollars. It's probably the base currency for like, I don't know, maybe half, maybe 1/3 of our customers. So I don't think currency is a good hint to find out like what customer data was used. And other than that, there is no customer specific data except for the numbers themselves. Like, I mean, the revenue number, the profit number, and so on, profit amount and things like that. Okay, so that's why we have this warning, data can be outdated. Oh, and actually it says, I'm sorry, it says here that we stopped updating the data on the 29th of April. So in your PortaBI, when you will be using the platform, you will also always see what was the last time the data from my Porta switch was uploaded into PortaBI. How fresh is my data? And the general rule of thumb is that it will always be like the last update will always be today. So whenever, well, if you look at the reports right after midnight of the next day, okay, maybe it will still show you the day of yesterday, but otherwise it will always be up to date. That's how it's built. That's how it's designed. This warning is just, again, if something happens, there is some technical issue, maybe lost connectivity or something like that, a data feed stopped, then of course you will always see that, yes, you can do your analytics, but you have to be aware that this is not the most recent up-to-date data. Enough about that. Let's speak about the actual questions that Andrew had in his presentation. So first of all, how is my business doing? We have this generic revenue widget, for example, which will tell you about how much we're making, right, in our business. Or we have profitability, which is even better. We know what is the margin, how much we're getting. But it's a general overview. It shows just the history. How can we look into more details? Well, normally, if I'm interested in revenue, I want to see what affected my revenue, like where was the biggest growth, where I had some issues with revenue. I would open the report by clicking show details and go to another tab to look at the report. So the revenue report, again, shows the same history for the last 12 months. I can change it to some custom period, like for example, I could say, show me the history from let's say December last year. Yeah, so from December until, let's say, April this year. So I can choose a custom period. I'm not going to do it, I'm just explaining the options. But anyway, so this is a general revenue for the company for the last 12 months. I can see that revenue split into different presentations. So for example, I can see just product related revenue. And you can see that it's lower than total revenue that the company received within that period. And the difference is pretty much obvious. Product is assigned to an account. So basically any charges which were directly done to the customer or charges which were done directly to reseller for that sake, they will not be displayed in a product-based split of the revenue. So this is only revenue, portion of the revenue, which is related to products and accounts. But anything which is on the customer level, it's outside of the scope. But we can see that customer related revenue is like 1.5 million, while the reseller related revenue is pretty small. It means that this customer doesn't use much resellers. Yeah, their business model just doesn't involve many resellers. Most of the customers are direct customers, but some of those customers are brought by distributors. Some of those customers are brought by representatives, and we can see which of our sales agents are performing the best. We can see that most of the revenue I get from from two representatives. That's representative 41 and 29. They are the biggest, let's say, lead or customer generation source for us in terms of revenue, not in terms of number of customers. And then again, a quarter of customers is brought by other representatives. So you can see those analytics. And if you need to get specific information about particular product, for example, you recently launched a product which is, let's say, host PBX, or let's say you entered the MVNO market. Yeah, you launched your MVNO just a few months ago, and you want to see for that particular product, you want to see how the revenue is doing. Well, you can see that, okay, starting in June, we started our MVNO in June. First, it was very successful. The revenue was growing, but there was sudden drop in October. And after that, it was pretty much okay. It was still growing by a small number every month. So what did happen in September? Maybe our competitors came out with some offer. Maybe the market changed and so on. So we can start doing the analysis and find out why there was this sudden drop in the sales for your MVNO product. So that would be one example. Another example, let's say you want to see for your business customers that you have in a specific customer class, you want to see how they are performing, like how much revenue they generate. So in that case, I'll just choose a customer class. Let's say it's customer class, the bottom one. So it's customer class 141. These are my business customers that I started to sell right after, I started to sell only in this year. So we can see that the business is growing with business customers. We can see that every month the revenue is increasing. So we're probably doing the right thing. And of course, you can do the filtering by other parameters, like by representatives, resellers, and so on. You can also choose revenue specifically only for direct customer or specifically for resellers, because resellers are typically a totally different league, right? So you can do that filtering as well. So again, I'm not going to spend much time here. I think you get the general idea that it shows the history, it shows the revenue split. You can change the period, you can apply various filters. That's pretty much the basis. Now let's get to the other question, a very important question, like how are my products doing in terms of profitability? And for that one, I will simply go to the profitability report. And in this case, let's pick a different product. So again, the report is going to look very similar. Yeah, it shows you the history of profitability. Yeah, like for the last 12 months by default. I can change the period, but anyway. So it shows you the profit as amount, and we can see how much profit we made. Again, different splits per product, customer, and so on. And let's say I want to see my particular product where I have various charges. I have a bundle. How is it doing in terms of profit? So let's pick a product number 65 in this case. And let's look at the profitability. And actually, I'm not that interested in the absolute number, like how many dollars it brings me. I probably want to see the margin because, I don't know, maybe some customers are asking for discounts. That would be related to COVID. I know a few real life cases when customers approached, customers of the service provider approached them asking for discount because the business, due to lockdowns, the business is not doing that well. So you want to check how much can we discount, how much we can discount before we start losing money. So that would be the idea. Where you can see that when the product was launched, we started with a negative, so we were losing money, probably because we put a very low subscription, included a very low subscription in the product, and then adjusted it maybe for some other reason. But later on, the margin improved, and we can see that it was going up and down. One of the reasons for that, one of possible reasons for that is that maybe our vendors, the cost of termination for calls was varying, and basically the margin, affected the margin, which was floating up and down. So we can see that in March, we barely made it to zero. And if customer with this product approaches you, to be on the safe side, you probably don't want to provide any discount. Yes, April was much better, but you should not look at the last month because it's not over yet. Maybe some subscription charges were not applied yet, and they will only apply at the end of the month, or maybe something else. So in this case, you probably don't want to apply any discounts. But if we look at our old product, like 58, and we will look at how it's doing. You see here the margin is much higher. It's probably a different line of business where the margin is much higher. We can see that margin is usually at least more than 75%. So in that case, okay, we can provide like 10% to 20% discount to the customer if they are asking for that discount. So once again, this when the profit is calculated here, it calculates the total revenue for that particular customer. Oh, sorry, for that particular account if we speak about products. Then it calculates the cost, the total cost related to the product. And then the profit is obviously the difference between revenue and cost, if we calculate it as US dollars amount, or it's a percentage from the revenue if you look at the profit margin here. So when it calculates revenue, it takes into account all product-related charges. So these are subscriptions, usage charges, everything. When we speak about customer-related split, it takes into account, again, all the charges. So that will be things like measured services, for example, or subscriptions on the customer level. Yeah, so they will all be included into the revenue calculation, and then costs will be subtracted. On the cost side, it takes into account usage charges, and it also takes into account DAD charges. So it takes all the revenue which is available in PortaBilling related to that particular object, like product or customer, and it also takes all the cost which is available in PortaBilling. And then it calculates the profitability. So that's pretty much how it works. The rest of the report is the same idea, is very similar to what we've discussed. And I'm not going to waste time displaying the third report, which is usage. Like for call, I'll just mention that it can show usage for particular service. And it also has a split for calls, whether it's inbound or outgoing calls. But otherwise, this report structure, if we go to show details and look at the report structure is very similar. Shows the history, you have a lot of filters, and you have pie charts with different splits of the usage. That's about it. I believe I answered the questions which Andrew had on that slide in his presentation. Now, Andrew, would you like me to release the screen sharing? You're still muted.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
So the questions which we found answers to were, okay, how we're growing in general. This question, which was really important for 70-something% of you, is what is the true profit on complex products. We also spoke about or saw how we can do the segmentation and how we calculate, find out the margins. So what's our tolerable area where we can do discounts or do some promotions. Okay, and we'll continue on a few other questions which seem to be important. For instance, can we proactively notice that one of our larger customers, something is wrong, they're about to leave, and we want to be able to intercept it before we actually send a cancellation note. So we can notice it when maybe if we're testing our competitor, well, the traffic to us have decreased significantly. Or in how we're doing on the customer growth and churn right now, like last week, last 30 days. So what is happening there? We don't want to wait until the churn will manifest itself in decrease in the amount of money in our bank account. We want to detect those things as early as possible and also have specific information how to solve this. And then finally, Mike will show what to do in case the set of pre-built default reports we supply with PortaBI doesn't answer this question immediately. You will be able to design very quickly your own dashboard, your own report. Okay, so I'm passing back the mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, okay. So let me start screen sharing and let's try to answer those questions as well. The first question was about how our bigger customers are doing. Are we on the verge of losing some of them? What's going on with their usage? So that would be the top customers report that you need to look at. And on the dashboard, it shows just, you know, the top customers who generate the most revenue. Of course, it's important to know, like, what are my revenue sources and which customers generate most of my revenue. So that's an important thing. But more important, we need to answer the specific questions that Andrew had, we need to go into the report. And if I look at the report, well, yeah, it has the same top. Well, in this case, it's a bit more thorough, or it has more customers. It's the same one based on the revenue, which customer generates the more revenue. I can choose to see resellers instead of my direct customers and see how resellers are doing. And of course, I can change like how many customers or resellers are displayed in this top report. But the report we should be looking at is on the right. That's usage change. So what it does, it takes the usage for the last 30 days of each customer, and then it builds a top list of customers who increased their usage over the last 30 days when compared to the previous 30 days. And the top of customers who have the usage dropped compared to the previous 30 days. So if we see that, for example, this customer with a long number, in the name, if that customer is an important customer and they used to have very high usage, so we know that that customer is one of our biggest sources of the revenue, and now it's a top one customer in the usage drop. Probably it's time for our account manager or whoever is responsible for customer satisfaction to reach out to the customer and find out what's going on. Why have they stopped using the service as much as they used before? What's going on there? So this is a very useful tool to find out which customers are not happy with the service and they have a decrease. Yes, in some cases it can be just like a seasonal change in the traffic or something like that. But it's better to be warned, or it's better to be, proactive than to be sorry when the customer leaves. So this is the idea. And again, you can change how many customers you see in this report. So you can choose like top 50 customers or whatever. For the increase, it's also useful to see like how many customers, it's useful to see like which customers are rapidly increasing their usage. The business case could be that maybe some of those customers should be offered a bigger package, which would produce more revenue for your company and which will probably make the customer happier. So it's a source of analysis, a source for analysis, like to see which customers are increasing their usage. And again, you have the same filters on the right where you can choose between direct customers, resellers. So you can do the same, and you can also do a top, for example, for a particular customer class. So like I have a customer class of my business customers, and I want to see what's going on with my business customers only. I don't want to see any retail customers or resellers to be present in this top usage drop or top usage increase. So that's also doable. I would love to show you that the report is available for the last 7 days, but unfortunately, well, it will show only drop. The reason, as I explained, is that we stopped collecting data on the 29th of April. For the last 7 days, there is no usage statistics. So if compared to the previous seven days, there is no increase, but there is still some drop in the usage for those last 7 days. So that's the answer to the first question that Andrew had in his presentation. Now, the other question was about what's going on with our churn and growth. Like, do we have customers increasing, number of customers increasing? Do we have number of customers decreasing? And that's subscriber dynamics. So this report is based on the new accounts that have been created or terminated accounts. The reason it checks accounts is because you know, you can have one customer with just a single account, and you can have a customer with 1,000 accounts. So measuring just customers usually is not that useful because, as I said, well, if you just added one customer, but that customer is like 1,000 extensions, yeah, does it mean that it's a small growth or it's actually a big growth? I would say it's a big growth having such a customer on board. So that's why we calculate it for accounts. And the way this percentage is calculated, it basically checks how many accounts were created, for example, in April. And then it compares that number with the total accounts at the end of March. So this is like how many new accounts we created compared to the total accounts at the end of March. And that would be like 0.5% growth. And it's the same formula for churn. We check how many accounts were terminated in March, and we compare it with the total number of accounts by the end of February. So we can see that like 0.08%, you know, stopped using the service. If we go into details for these reports, it's going to look very similar to the reports that we've already seen. I mean, revenue and profitability report. The only difference is that it has pie charts with a split of growth, like separate group of pie chart for growth and separate group of pie charts for churn. Yeah, so it shows you the leading, for example, products, the leaders in subscriber churn. It means that product 114 is not very popular, and our customers using that product are leaving. I mean, they're quitting the service. Maybe we should do something about that. Maybe we should change the product. Maybe we should just introduce a new product and automatically transfer remaining customers from product 114 to this new product. So again, this is a source for analysis, for further analysis, trying to find out, like, okay, why there is such a big churn for that particular product. The same story with growth. We can see which customer classes, for example, are the highest growing. So we have customer class 66, and we can see that it has the highest growth, the highest number of new accounts for the last year. That's like 7,000 new accounts. So again, we know that this customer base is has a good potential. We can sell more. Another interesting feature which I haven't demonstrated yet is the ability to compare what you have on your history bar chart with the previous period. So how does our current ups and downs, and we can see that November was quite successful in terms of growth. So how does it compare with the previous 12 months? Can we do a comparison month by month? So I'll just click compare. And then we can see that if we compare month by month, is that our November was extremely successful. And if it's compared to November of the, of the previous year of 2018, there was nothing like that. There was no growth. So we understand that this is not a seasonal growth. It's something that we did, like maybe we launched a campaign, or maybe there was something else which steered the market, and we got 1% growth in that month. And again, as I mentioned, you can do the filtering by customer class and all that stuff. So that pretty much answers the second question that Andrew had, like how are we doing in terms of growth and churn? Now, the last question is my favorite. Like, we launched a campaign, let's say in the around Christmas, around New Year, and we want to see how our sales are doing. I mean, we know the specific products that we launched on the market, and we want to see how we are doing in terms. Oh, I'm sorry. We launched several new products, and we want to see how we are doing in terms of growth. Like, do these products perform to our expectation, or we still have some other products that are champions in terms of subscriber growth? So if I was to build that report, I would start. Oh, I'm sorry. I have some artifacts from my previous attempt. So let me start by building a report from scratch. So I have a blank page. I've already connected to the table in the warehouse, which is called subscriber changes. It's actually not a table, it's a collection of tables, but we call it a data source. So when you will be designing your own reports, you will be just connecting to one of the data sources. And we have a documentation which describes those data sources, so you can choose the correct ones. There are not so many. There are like 5 or 6 of them for different types of reports. So I have the data source, which has a record of all subscriber changes of new accounts. And I have to start building my report. So I'll start with choosing, first of all, I'll start by choosing a transaction date, because I want to see just the beginning of this year. So let's say we will just choose the first quarter of this year. Yeah, because a second quarter is not that interesting. It's only March and partial April. So we don't have the complete numbers. But for first quarter, I'll probably want to see the report. Let me remove this leftovers from my previous experiments. So, okay, how's the transaction date? And you can see by default, it shows me that filter for transaction date as a slide bar, or I don't even know what is the right name for this control. And obviously, I just want to choose a particular quarter. So I change the type of this filter to quarter. And I'm saying that I want to have a discrete list of quarters. So then I have my filter where I can choose one of the quarters or many of them. I can change, so it takes quite a bit of space, and since I'm going to add more stuff here, I'm going to change the type of the filter. So it has like multiple values list. I'm going to change it to a drop down. And then it takes just this little space. And then I can just choose my particular quarter. So for example, for now, I'm interested in the first quarter of 2020. Now, my next step is to filter by particular type of transaction, because subscriber changes record different types of transactions. So for that one, I need a field which is called description. That's change description. So the data source is subscriber changes, and then description describes the change. And when you hover your mouse over a particular field, you can always read a description. So for example, it tells that it's a type of the change, subscriber created, and so on and so on. So I put it into my filters. Yeah, it automatically shows up here on the right. And I'm saying I'm only interested in new subscriber created. I'm not interested in product change or when subscriber was suspended or terminated. I'm only interested in new subscribers created. So I'm going to enable just that particular event. Yeah. And after that, I don't really need this filter. I'm not going to change it in the future. So I'm just hiding it. I don't want my report to be cluttered with unneeded filters. So I just remove show filter, and I'm still with just the quarter. So we have our filtering done. Let's get to the actual data. So for this one, we do need a product name because we want to see the split per product, right? We want to see how our product performs, especially compared to other products. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the product name here. Okay. And then I'm going to add a calculated field into the columns. So one thing which is pretty much confusing for most people when they start, and I was confused myself, is what do these columns and rows mean? And the idea is very simple. Whatever you need to be presented like an object in each row, you put into the rows. If you want to add columns to your table, so I want to see, like, for example, number of new subscribers, right? Of created subscribers for that particular product, I have to add it as a column. Now, I obviously in this data source, I don't have the number of subscribers. Like, there is no field which I can use right away. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to count for each product how many records I have. And as I said, I have to add it as a column. So I take the same product name, I put it into the column. Now I have this funny table, but give me a second. And then on this product name, I'm saying that I want to have a calculated measure. And I want just to calculate the count of records. Now I have something interesting, not very usable, but at least I do have some data, right? I have the product with a number of created accounts or subscribers for each of those products. It's a very long list, and some products do have new subscribers, some products don't have new subscribers. So it's not a very nice presentation, right? It's not easy to work with. Let's change the presentation. Let's go to a pie chart. Okay, that's a bit better, right? Of course, the pie chart is too small, so let's make it like full screen. And I'm saying that my graph needs to take the entire view. That is even better. Now, I do have the information there, like each product is presented there with a number of new subscribers. The things which are still quite difficult is to understand which product is what, because we have this long legend on the right, and like matching a color to this legend is pain in the neck, right? Like, it's really difficult to understand. So what we are going to do, we are going to add labels to this one. Okay, now it shows us the number of accounts. It's better, but it's still a bit challenging to do the mapping between the color and the product in the legend. What we can do, we can sort these products. So I can say that I want my products to be sorted. So I'm going to sort. I want to sort them by the field. And I want to go them from to go from the product with the highest name, number of accounts to the lowest number. So I'll use descending order. Now that is something which we can work with. So we can see that our top product in terms of growth is product 686 and is here in the top of the list. And that is our top in the first quarter of 2020. Because if I go to the second quarter, okay, it's still the same. Let's go to some old data, like 2019. Well, that product is still our leader, but the second product is different now. So back like a bit less than 1 year ago, we had a different top of our products. So we can see the highest growth in that one. So let me go back to the first quarter. So I've built this report which shows me my growth, like new subscribers for each particular product within like what, 5 minutes with all the talking and describing everything to you. Now, if you spend, and I'm going to stop at this point. I don't want to turn this presentation into, you know, a lot of features of Tableau being displayed and so on. But if you spend like 1 hour more, you can build a report like this. So basically what I do have here, I created 2 reports very similar to what I had with my products for the selected quarter. I have the same quarter selected, but I also show the previous quarter. So I can compare. For example, I see that in current quarter, I have this magenta product, which is product 1064 with 80 new accounts. It wasn't in the top of my previous quarter. So we see that this product is, you know, getting to the top and taking up some space. If I want to see higher segments in the pie chart, I can do the filtering by count of products. So I want to say that show me only those which have more than 100 accounts. Yeah, and then I have the top which just shows 5 products altogether. Doesn't show all those products which didn't have much growth in the current quarter. And then I can compare it. So that is another option which I can do. So as I said, building this report, it's like 1 hour of work. And then you can do this simple comparison of quarter to quarter. Like you can choose different quarters and see them compared with the previous quarter. So if this is quarter 4 2019, this is quarter 3 2019. So that's how you can build your own report and see, for example, how your products perform in terms of growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And just a quick note, obviously this work which Mike did or you will do, it can be saved and then it can be reused. So obviously if this report per quarter, you will only need to create it once and then you can use it over and over again. Okay, and I'm going to steal Mike's screen sharing and we'll continue the presentation. So we just saw how quickly we can get the information we need from existing PortaBI reports and dashboards, and most important, how easy it is to do the self-design of reports. And also in PortaOne, as a part of our user acceptance testing, we were actually taking some of our employees, not the programmers who know SQL, but we were taking people with very basic IT knowledge, and they were actually able to design their own reports. So this tool can be empowering your sales managers or people who are responsible for marketing to do their own analytics and reports. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our presentation. So what are going to be the next steps? So obviously you are all probably by now interested in how we can start using it and how much is it going to cost. PortaBI is available as a subscription in 3 packages. The basic, it includes up to 1 million of aggregated transaction record storage. And from our calculation, for most of the customers who would have probably around a few million of minutes per month, they would fit in here pretty well, and they will have data available for a year or so, because I said the data gets aggregated quite well. Then the next package is professional, and that includes more storage for ATRs, more users who can access built-in reports, and this provides the ability to access that report designer. So one user can be actually designing reports for others, and that one is more expensive. And then they have enterprise plan, which includes more storage, large amount of users who can access reports and who can design their own reports, and a few other perks, such as ability to extract the data from PortaBI warehouse into your own tools to be used for some other analytics or integrations. And also we're working on the connectors for the external platforms for automated export and integrations, where this can be used also to enhance your digital marketing sales activities and others. Okay, and right now, what we have the initial version of PortaBI available immediately, but probably we're not going to stop here. We're going to keep developing, and here's just a preview of what is our current backlog. Besides the obvious things, expanding more reports, adding some additional capabilities, we're going to add extraction of resources spent by the support team. We have Zendesk as our partner, and also PortaSwitch is going to be integrated with Zendesk as of release 86. So you'll be able to, when you see profitability of a customer, you will not only account for the money you pay to carriers, but you can also account for the average time support team spends on solving questions of customer class A or customer class B. Automated alerts, so you'll be able to say, well, when a usage, when the profitability of a certain customer, certain group drops below the threshold, of a sudden increase in usage, you can want to get immediately an alert. We'll have a tool which allows you to simulate, to plan your new products. So take an existing product and see how it's performing, what is being used there, and then try to plan better for new products. As I said, a data export. For instance, right now, most of our customers, they do Google AdWords advertisement. And the best they can do, they can attribute Google words, whether somebody clicked on the added and signed up or didn't sign up on their web page. But it's not really interesting because you probably are more interested to pay more money for clicks to those customers who come to your site and sign up for more expensive products and stay with you for a long time. So we can export your customer lifetime value and you will know which campaigns work better. Right now, what we saw, it's an interface for administrators. So each virtual environment in PortaSwitch gets translated into PortaBI instance, but we plan to add own mini PortaBI for resellers, so they will have access to the same capabilities as you, and data enrichment from external sources. So if we have an ERP or some other system which hosts some data, maybe about additional cost figures, like you're renting an outgoing internet channel, right? And these payments, they're not right now reflected in PortaBI because it's just a bulk payment for the whole pipe, right? But it would be nice for you to attribute it and know what is true profitability of your internet services. So you'll be able to add it there. Okay, and now we'll do the Q&A session. So I'll quickly check the questions which we have received so far. Yes.
I believe there is one important feature from the backlog which we missed on that slide. So if you don't mind, I'll chime in. There is also an idea of creating profiles for various objects. So, you know, we've seen like the top of the iceberg, like you see where the problem may be. We've seen various cases like, okay, our revenue dropped on that particular month. But in order to drill down, we need profiles. So basically for objects like customer or product or customer class, we will have the ability to click on that particular project, on that particular object, and go into a separate page where all information related to that object is displayed. Its profitability, the revenue it generates, for example, for quota, what is the actual usage? Like you have a quota which comes at a certain subscription, a certain number of megabytes or a certain number of minutes. What is the cost of the actual used minutes? So are we actually making money on that quota? Maybe we are losing money, or how much we are making. And this type of profiles are also on the backlog log, and we plan to develop them in the future versions.
Thank you, Mike. And as I was saying previously, PortaBI is going to be developed. It's a cloud product, so we develop it in an agile fashion. Right now we're doing 2-week sprints. We may even switch to 1-week sprint. So all these updates, they're going to appear there automatically without your involvement or without having to do any engineering activities. And the questions which were received was which system our reporting engine is based on. It's based on Tableau. Is there any integration with accounting platforms for sharing common fields like Pastel and QuickBooks? And that's what I said right now, not as of this moment, but we do see this as an opportunity to allow either pumping the data out of PortaBI to the outside tools or doing data enrichment. By the way, there's another interesting product initiative from PortaOne called iPaaS and iPaaS workflows, and that's something which allows integration between PortaBI and external platforms like QuickBooks or Microsoft Navision with just a few clicks. And we're going to be doing webinar on that sometime in June, I guess. The question about the load on the system, so whether the activities of PortaBI agent generate any load on the replica database. They may do some more or less heavy queries initially, because when the agent just starts, it has to process several months of data which are available in the system already, but it only does it during your off-peak hours, and that's only kind of one-time thing. After that, it only analyzes data for the past day. So the amount of data to go through is fairly small, and I don't think it's going to have any noticeable impact on the performance. A question whether PortaBI can be available as a non-cloud-based solution. No, because then we'll lose all the benefits like auto-updating, ability to have unlimited storage, ability to scale fast, and ability to connect to your existing system without waiting for the new release to appear. Can the cloud system hold more than 2 months of data? Yes, and that's one of the main ideas. We want it want all the data you have, they are valuable, they're useful. So we want you to have it and be able to work with it and process it. Okay. And there was a question about whether a reseller can have access to PortaBI, and I answered it. Yes, we do plan to give resellers ability to access PortaBI and run it there. Question about the margin on subscription. I'm not sure if I understand this, but I think this refers to the question which Mike already explained. So our profitability and margins, we try to take into considerations all the factors we have available. So whether the subscription was charged at the end of the month, and then there was some pay-as-you-go activity built during the month, and then additional vendor costs which are attached to free calls which are made for quotas. So we'll be putting it all together for you to be able to reconcile and see the true picture. Multiple currencies in PortaBI. Right now, the reports, everything is expressed into so-called base currency of your Porta billing environment. It's the same one you have your default reports built in. We do have information as a custom original currency available as a part of the data objects. So if you need this for some of your custom reports, yes, you'll be able to do a generation in the original currency. And the question about the limitation of number of reports. So there really no limit on the amount of reports which you can create. And also we hope to extend the set of reports with many more. So there's really, and I've been asked to confirm that they're not taking your existing access to the database away. No, we're not. You still have ability to access the database. You still can run your own reports. It just, with PortaBI, you have more storage, you have a simpler data model, you have a history, and you have more intuitive tools. Okay. Okay, and
I will probably just elaborate on this idea of PortaBI instance per environment. Basically, typically, there are some exceptions, but typically different billing environments are used for different lines of business and sometimes even for different companies. Maybe within the same group, maybe it's just, renting a partition to another company. So when we built the PortaBI, the idea was it doesn't make sense to combine commercial or financial data, for that sake, into a single pie chart or into a single bar chart. If these are different businesses, they should have different analytics and different business intelligence. So that's why the solution is built as a single instant per environment.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, and the question is, what are the next steps? So as I said, PortaBI, it's already available. It's already running in our cloud data warehouse. So you can start your usage of it immediately. You will receive a follow-up email from your account manager, and we actually have a dedicated manager for PortaBI project, Jane Gambaryan. So you will have a follow-up email with a link which you can use to go to the self-care portal to register for PortaBI. We offer 14 days free trial, so you will have on your live system your real data. You'll go into the cloud. When all the data ready, we will conduct for you an onboarding session. So we'll actually, together with you, we'll explore your data. We'll see what can be noticed there immediately. We'll teach you, if there are any questions, how to use it. And then after that, you will have 2 weeks to evaluate and work with the data. And as always, we'll welcome your suggestions. We'll welcome your ideas about what else can be added, what kind of new reports, what kind of new functionality you need there to let you better run your business, make educated business decisions, and grow. Thank you very much. So soon you will receive a follow-up email, and we hope that PortaBI will enable you to run better telco operations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.